Oh yeah, folks, and thanks for joining us again. Stephen here. I'm your host at Zanshin-Blades, and look, I just thought I'd drop in, and before we do this part one of Tsukamaki or Tsukamaki, however you wish to say it, I'll just sort of show you some of the things that you may need if you're looking to get into this type of work. The one we are reviewing, the one I'm actually rebuilding for one of my dojo friends, is this one here, and you'll see that in the following vid as to what I recommend to do before you actually take it off and everything to be aware of. And we've already uncovered something about this handle, but I'll leave that to the video to fill you in there. I've got a Tsukamaki or Tsukamaki stand here. I'll just try and pan if I can. Oh, wrong way. And show you, that's it there. And there's all the assorted tools and equipment I need attached to that. But I find that really handy. You've probably seen it before, but you set the handle on there and it's nice that you can just lift up, turn to whatever position you want, and I find that has really progressed my handle rewrapping abilities to no end. Right, so let's come back now. Thank you. And look, something you should know before you get into this is I've done this pretty raw this time. I've just taken one take and off you go type of thing. So I'm sorry if I bumble and fumble, forget words, and that type of thing, but today a little bit pushed for time, so I just want to get in and get this out there to sort of whet your appetite and show you sort of step one, which is pretty generic, pretty basic sort of stuff. It's prep, and it's all in the prep when it comes to this sort of stuff. Now, sourcing the different materials here, I have gone to different websites. There are the forges that actually put this stuff out as well. So if you are familiar with a forge and you like their work, by all means go there, see what they've got, and get their supplies. But the number one place I've sort of gone to on this stuff is eBay. Now, before I go any further, I just really want to let you know that when it's a case of eBay, buyer beware. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on there. You don't always get what you ask for. One example for me, the one that's that my finger's sort of running down now, that is a wood grain, a raw wood grain saya. And it was supposed to be a shiny sort of lacquered finish, and I got a wood grain raw wood saya. Obviously this stuff comes from China. There's no good trying to send it back or anything like that. Fortunately, I didn't mind it. Actually, I wouldn't have got it normally, but once I received it, it's gone with sort of my oldest katana blade up there, and it is a hybrid of many things, and it's certainly not as it originally was. So it sort of fit in with that. It fits. It doesn't rattle too much, and I can shim the Koyaguchi, and all is well. But if you're looking for something specific, there are some good suppliers there. Look at the reviews. Look at how much they've sold. Look at the accuracy rate I think they have on eBay for all this type of thing, and that'll give you a good indication. I got this blank for the handle making from, I want to say, Swordmaster on eBay. But they were a little bit hard to find, so if you want to get something like that, look around, and you'll find something. But I dare say US supplies, eBay definitely has them. You just got to hunt around. I forget what the actual name is of that blank, but I will try and source that, and through the series I will let you know. So things I got off eBay. So first off, we've got the Minuki, and they all come in different sizes. There's that one there. Oh, there's that one there, like that. So you can see they're all different styles. These ones I think are just basically dragon, if it wants to focus. So there's a few different shapes and sizes. I've got, there's a 3 flower design there, and the rest are dragons of different iterations there that you've probably already seen anyway. So they can come in just one, they can come in packs of 10, 5, whatever you want really. Just make sure they're matching. The Fuchin Kashira, there's different sets here that I've got, different styles. And you've seen them before, I'm sure. I hope the lighting is good enough here, guys. Sorry, once again, I'm just shooting and going. So yeah, there's another set there. So that's a plainer, sort of more polished set, and then there's another couple here in the dragon theme. You can see there, if that wants to focus. And seppa. Can never have enough seppa, I reckon. So, and they're good for spacing. If you find there's a little rattle, then maybe you would be lucky enough to slip in another seppa in there between the handle and the tsuba, and that takes most of that out. But you may have to do some filing, do some customization, that type of thing. The aim here is not to be dodgy about it. There's ways around this type of stuff. You just have to be a little bit savvy and do your research and try a few different things before you make it work. At the end of the day, anything you do here to the handle, you're going to be swinging around with a 70 odd centimeter blade hanging off the end of it, whether it's an Eido or not. So you want to do this stuff so it's at least firm and held and decent. We don't want to be unsatisfied with the job and then try and use it, because that will just lead to problems. What else we got here? All important, Eido wrap. That's pretty easy to find on eBay. Just be sure that you again are getting a good quality. Shop around for the prices. I have some black. This is cotton, and this is synthetic silk. This is a bluer one. Have a look at the diameter you want. Now, if it's a 10 mil, say then just bear in mind you're going to be doing a lot of stretching. So 10 mil is okay, but when you're applying, you can see there's a bit of narrowing as you stretch that. So an initial 10 mil Seigyo will probably go to around about 8 mil. So make sure you've got something that is wide enough for your application, and you take that in consideration, because you're going to be putting a lot of pull force, a lot of strain to tighten that. So yeah, just bear in mind 10 mil does not necessarily mean 10 mil when it goes on the handle. It will be more like 7 to 8 mil once you've stretched. And then of course, if you're putting Hishigami in there, that's something else to consider, that you can get those the edges of the Eido wrap around that Hishigami to make a beautiful finish. But that's just a little detail there. Super, plenty of them on there. But again, yeah, I would measure your blade where it goes through here and get something that's very, very close to the measurement you want. You can hammer them to try and close that gap, but sometimes they are just cast. They don't have the little, sometimes there's a little like die mark there where you can place the punch to push that metal in towards the blade. These ones don't have that. They're a nice finish, but you would have to sort of make your own punch holes there and be very careful with how you push that metal onto the blade. Same with this one. You might see I've tried to fit it to a different blade and it's actually been way too tight, and we've sort of pulled the steel out there from the center, and that's okay. That can be filed back if you're careful enough, but I stopped after that because it was just way too tight. And it wasn't going to fit properly. So what I'll have to do, if I want to fit that to the blade, I'll have to get a little file in there, and you can obviously see where it's caught and too tight. So we just file that out and contour that to sort of customize it to what we want. But these are all jobs that are done slow and steady. If you're in a rush, if you get emotional about it, shall we say, then take a break, step away, have a think about it, then come back when you're a bit calmer, because it always goes better. Right, what else? 7-hour. These can be hard to find. This can be expensive. Like, let's be honest here. I got these, I want to say through AliExpress, but look, again, buyer beware. You'll see this and go, oh, cool, great, got it. But I think I'm not sure. Sorry guys, still a bit raw today. This is a bunch. I think I've got 10 strips in all. I've used a couple. So they come pre-cut, or can come pre-cut. You can get the whole ray skin as a whole and cut it out yourself. Again, eBay, AliExpress, those type of buys will have them. You can get this domestically here in Australia, but I have found that it's more this stuff. And they've highlighted the Emperor node there, but this is only good for a short handle. And what I thought was just Semigawa, which has been polished and dyed. I don't know why that is a thing. I think that's more for clothing. And then we turn it over, and it's back with leather. So not the application I wanted. Nice little bit of bray skin, don't get me wrong. That's beautifully highlighted, the Emperor node there. It's been sanded. There's It's yeah, so I just had to restart that. It's all a flush finish, but not for the application that we want. The other thing is you here can see the emperor nodes and that line, which would have been great if it was in the center or up here where it should be, but it's been cut off to the side. So, you know, to place that in the middle where it should be and in the correct position for the handle, it's nigh impossible. So the best I could probably do there is sand that down flat, unless I think of another application for it. So, you know, they will give you strips of Samigawa that are quite nice, but they'll be different sort of node variations. There'll be different coarsenesses. I don't know, they're all 3 different finishes there. Luckily, between all of them, there's a matching set for all of them. So these 2 are very similar in grain size. So I can use those, no worries at all, for whatever I want. These are just over 30 centimeters long, so they will fit most handles, and it's quite good. So if you're in a pinch, Samigawa from these sites pre-cut, it'll get you out of trouble, and it's not bad quality. Once you soak it or recess it into, I've got a blank here, so you can see there they've got some recessed lines there, and that is where normally the Samigawa would sit. So you just place him in those ridge recesses there, and you know, obviously cut it to length, so there's a bit of work to do, all that type of thing, and that is the fit that you would do. So you can see the ridge lines there, and that just sort of folds down into them. So they would work a treat. This is a blank tail bag. This is made out of some nice wood. I think it's actually, I won't say because I'm not sure, but it's blank. I actually have to carve the handle into that. Okay, sorry folks, back again. So this is a pre-made outer or skin for a handle, but I will have to carve the recess for the handle or the blade into that before I use it. So that is something for another day. And just to give you an example, these are ones that I've rewrapped. I know I've just experimented with. These ones I actually went to town on the Hishigami, much fatter and broader than I would normally put in a handle. And it's resulted in a nice chunky little wakizashi or tento handle. This is more wakizashi or ninjato sort of design, but that's the old, I don't know whether you've seen the shorts vid I did, but that is the old mucky one that sort of showed up in that sort of display that I put there. And as you can see, it's turned out not bad at all. And this is another one. This is actually off my old original beater, my cutter, and it's actually got full plastic handle. And again, this is all practice and just getting to know how to wrap this stuff. And that is just a cotton ito with, again, Hishigami, and finished off there. So that's a plastic emperor node there. That's a whole molded plastic handle. So she's not much chop, but again, it's practice and it's a spare one. And if anything happens, this will get me out of trouble there. And that is it, guys. Oh, fake reskin, the PU or plastic stuff. This again is a prefab handle. You can buy these off eBay. It's a very light wood, but again, it'll get you out of trouble. It's good for practicing. They're relatively inexpensive. You can get them in a number of different lengths. But this has the plastic or fake ray skin on it with just a backing of sticky stuff that you peel off and put on. But look, that again, that's okay. If that's in your budget, if that's all you can afford, if that's all the bother you want to go to, then again, that's okay. Everyone's in a bit of a fuss to be all authentic and this type of thing, but look, if it works for you, and until you sort of gain skills or get better or want something different, then go for it. You know, it's all a learning curve, and there's no problems here if you want to use that type of stuff. You know, that comes with its own set of problems and pluses, but you know, we can get into that another time. But it's more forgiving. It's not as grippy as the real stuff, so the knots may slide across that. But again, horses for courses, guys. So that's it. This will be a heavily sort of cut, shut, skippy, awkward video, I'm sure. That combined with the taking the handle off, and you guys should have a fair laugh at it. But anyway, that's the best I can do today, guys. I'm sorry. I really just wanted to get this stuff out there and get this drip feed happening of handle making and everything else that goes along with it. So I'll give you sort of more detailed look at everything else I use to put all this stuff together. How I make Ishigami. I actually have some Honshu rice paper. This isn't it that I'll be using for this next blade, but that's just a little template I use after folding it to get whatever diamond dimension I want, and this varies from handle to handle. These may not be a suitable match for this one here, and I'll show you how to sort of measure that out so you're in the ballpark of what you should be using. There's a couple there that I've pre-cut, and they're the wedges basically that go into between the diamonds there to just give them their fullness and to stop the diamonds collapsing. So what happens is they sit into there, and then obviously you're wrapping the ito around that, and that just raises, you can see that it's raising the ito up off the handle and stopping those triangles from collapsing. So it's what happens is as that ito moves, those triangles sort of move into the center a little bit, hopefully not too much, and just tightens this handle so it beds in rather than you have that wandering and the ito loosening over time. And then you get to something like this, and the repair job's on the way. So this doesn't have Hishigami, and as you'll see in the video coming up, the great unknown when you're doing this stuff pops its head up at any time. So anyway, I hope you enjoy, guys. I promise I'll spend more time on the next videos to make them more clear and concise, but I hope you enjoy it. Look, like, subscribe. I'm relatively new. I'd love your opinions and input, and let's help build this channel to more followers so we can get the suppliers in the door so we can review some really good stuff. All right, bye for now. I'm going to training. See you later. Hello folks, and welcome back to Zanshin-Blades. I'm Steve, and I'll be your host for today on Tsukamaki or Tsukamaki. I'm lucky enough that I have self-taught myself to rewrap handles, and I've been doing it for a little while now in line of also being an Iaido practitioner. And this has actually come from one of my fellow training partners, and he's been very trusting enough to lend it to me so that I may rewrap the handle for him. Now, in his own words, he has a very strong tamanuch, which is what we use, that hand movement that we use to get the blade moving. And because of that, more often than not, the kashira part of the handles will eventually over time get a bit loose, and that's what's happening there. So way too much play in that. There's been different attempts to fix it without undoing everything, what we've sort of got there is just little remnants of bits of glue, and it's not a terrible job, but it's just not lasting under the pressures of practice. So first thing I would recommend when you're doing any handle is to take all the pictures, like all the pictures. Take pictures of the handle as it is here, take it at the fittings so you know what it roughly looked like and which way the tsuba was on, so that when you put it all back together it's exactly the same. Which way the kashira is facing, I don't know if you can see that there, but just making an attempt to get a picture document of it so you know exactly where the ornaments underneath the wrap need to sit, and just basically the overall look of it before you started. And that's always nice to do a comparison afterwards too. If you finish it off nicely, you can do the whole before and after thing, and it shows your progress or shows what sort of job you've done. So after all that, what I like to do is just have a look at the pegs here, and I just try and determine which way they've been placed in. To me, everything goes on a certain way, everything comes off a certain way, and then when I'm done, it all goes back on in the same order, and I find that lessens the chance of rattle. Although on these older swords or older Iaito, once you take it apart, there's usually a bit of play or rattle in the tsuba, but there's a few ways you can get around that and fix that and solve that, but that's down the track. But for now, we're just having a look at the pegs here, and we're going to take this handle off so we can really have a good look at it. And To me it looks like they've been put on from this side. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to force them right through, we're going to turn it over and we're going to come at the handle that way. Now I've just got a bit of foam here, and that just allows me to sit the handle just a little bit up from the wood. The old faithful generic sword cleaning kit hammer. So I don't know whether you guys know that at the top here there's a little attachment, and we just pull that out. So in a pinch you can use that. That is a flat or flatter piece of a pin, and then you can use the hammer in the normal way. I've just got a bit of plumber's tape in there because that actually kept unwinding. So that is just a bit of thread tape to keep it nice and secure so it's not going to wind out. And then we just place on the top there, and a few hits. It's pretty much out. And that's pretty much out. I'm just going to make sure they're through. Awesome. One, that's the back one, front one. So I'm just going to take the scabbard off, or the saya off, and see how we go. Now we did say he has had the handle off before, so this hopefully is not, it won't be a task. If the handle is the first time it's come off, then care is needed. It might need a bit of work. It might need a few light taps with a hammer. If you do use anything like that, this is the one I use for wrapping, obviously that is way too small. You can get a larger one. Just make sure it's got the cushioned ends. We're not after any metal on metal stuff here. And you can grab a piece of wood or dowel and just tap tap around the tsuba there until it comes off. Now you're not belting it, you're just giving it a hand to come off, so just keep that in mind. But I'll try and do the traditional way here. Oh yeah, there's a bit of wanting there. There we go. Well, that's not too bad at all. Okay, so you can see there's separation. They're all starting to come apart there. So we just gently guide that off. Again, you don't have to really wrestle with this stuff. You'll have to be firm at times. I get that, but where you can, be gentle, because these are all soft metals too. So if you're bending, forcing or prying on this stuff, then you're going to create problems. You're going to create wear and tear, and you're going to create wobble and noise and all that type of thing. So there we go. So that's under there, under the handle. That's a pretty, like, from, I'll just try and get it in the light there. From what I have seen, that is pretty standard for most mass-produced katana and iaito in this day and age. That's the pretty standard sort of shape underneath the handle. Although that can vary, don't take that as 100%. But most replacement handles, and that's a tricky market if you're looking to get another handle to suit this type of blade, or the handle underneath the blade, and it can be really hard to get a matching one. But most of the one that are pre-done, you can buy with the recess already in them, will more or less fit that shape. But I'm yet to find one that goes on without a little bit of rattle. So that it's a bit of a buyer beware and a bit of potluck involved when you're sourcing new handles for this type of fitting. But moving on, we'll just place this one back in the saya, and that's just we want to be protecting the blade. We're working on the handle, but we don't want that exposed. There's a bit of oil on that, so I know it's going to be protected. But then the rest of it, just slip it home, and you can always come back to that. Right, next. So this just an analogy. Let's have a look. Let's have a deeper look at the handle before we actually get into it. And anything of note, then you can take notice of, take a picture, write it down so that you remember. So obviously this is the cause of the problem there. Very loose, and we'll be taking all that apart and probably re-wrapping in general. There's no hishigami. That's real ray skin, but it's been painted obviously red. Fuji, let's have a look. Jeez, it's been used, definitely. Okay, pretty easy. So again, like I haven't seen this sword before. I haven't seen any of the koshiri, what any of it is like. So I always like to have a really good look, see if there's any faults, defects, what sort of wear and tear is happening, and that just lets me know what's ahead, what I've got to work with, or in this case, because I'm doing it for someone else, anything they should be aware of before we get into it. So that's okay. Let's have a look here at Semigawa, and you can see the paint's sort of just coming away a bit there, but that's real race skin under that. So far all the paint that I've noticed is off. That might be just glue. You can see there it's starting to discolor a bit. You know, obviously I don't know whether I'll be able to color match this, but I'll have a talk to him and just see what, you know, does he want it a fainter red? Does he want to keep that red sort of look to it? Usually they do. What's that there? Right. And this is why we have a look there, guys. I hope you can see that, but there's a little split right there in the handle. So depending on, ooh, that looks to be substantial, actually. Sorry guys, I've gone down the rabbit hole here, but it, from what I can see, so far, that split goes to about here, possibly further. I can't see further down the recess there. So this is this is the joys of doing Tsukamaki. It's the great unknown, especially when you're dealing with older handles like this. So he was very keen on this handle because of the shape. It's actually a bit wider than you would probably find, but he's got slightly bigger hands, so he's actually really liking the shape of this handle. And you can see, well, I hope it picks up there, that there's a little bit, just that little bit of curve happening through the back of the handle there, which is no drama. It's just when you are doing the wrapping, it's a good idea to just keep an eye on any curve or tapering that happens in the handle. That way you can just make an effort to run those knots where they cross over in line with that. If I was to just run that straight through there, it'd look a little bit off center compared to the contour of the handle. So that's another thing to sort of keep in mind there. But at this stage, it may just be that the whole handle has to be replaced. If that is something that he is concerned about, you know, and if it was mine, I'd be concerned. Then we may just have to do a whole handle thing, so you guys get to see go to woe in that aspect. It's, you know, it's just more time consuming. It's a bigger job basically. But the reason for that, the wear and tear happens, it's just my educated guess. The Tsukamaki, when we start to move the blade, I hope you can see this, is a really quick action with the last two fingers. So as you're starting your cut, you're actually flicking into the blade. You're throwing the tip away. You might have heard that expression where you throw the tip away and then let your arms come down in an arc to complete the cut. So there's a lot of force that goes in initially to this end of the handle to get the blade moving at the other end. So if you imagine that inertia where you're still and then boom, forward, you start your cut and then you go through. Now obviously this is an Iaito. It hasn't had any target impact whatsoever, but of course you've got a steel blade hanging out this end. It's got the collar on it obviously, but what happens there is that force has to go somewhere. So that blade is sitting there stationary, and then all of a sudden, boom, forward. So there's a lot of pressure or force that comes into the back of the handle there when you initially start to, well, when you're wielding any sort of cut or chiburi, it transfers to there, blade gets started, and then of course when you're stopping the blade, there's a little bit more force that comes through to the front of the handle here. But initially there is a lot of force that comes through because of the Tsukamaki that you're performing to get that tip moving, and that force obviously is transferred towards the front. That blade swings forward. So this is why you know, handles that need to be in a good shape, and I don't mean the shape of the handle, I mean the in condition, because over time they cop a flogging, and it's what's under the hood that matters. And this is, this can lead to, when you're doing a fast draw, that shattering, the blade coming loose, that type of thing. So minor things, they grow over time into big things. So this could be a little bit bigger than what we thought it was going to be, which is okay. If it's, we can work with that. But that's step one initially, guys, and this is even before we've taken the wrap off. So you're having a look, getting documentation through photos or notes as complete as you can. You're taking sort of photos from that angle, you're taking even photos from the top, bottom, at the end there. I especially take photos of the end knot, where the Kashira is on both sides, so I can compare how it was sitting before and after. I take the Manuki and Mikugi pegs, where they are, and in relation to that, where they're sitting, and then also down the front there, so I can just have a look at the condition of what it was like without the Fuchi on the other end. And then you go from there, and even as I'm unwrapping, I'll get halfway down, I'll take a photo, that type of thing. Also doing a diamond count. There's templates and different things you can use to just put markings along the top there to make sure that the Ito, as you're wrapping it, is staying on track, so that you're not going to end up here with sort of half a diamond type of thing. And that means you've just got to rewrap it or try and do something to make it more even at this end. So those little gauges that you might have seen are very handy for keeping your spacing in the correct order, and preventing any bunching that can happen along the edges of the wrap here. What we want is that smooth transition, and that almost zigzaggy look that you get when the handle is symmetrical. So you want to keep that, because obviously that's where the fingers come in, and that's where you index the blade, and that's where you literally get a grip on things. So I hope that's a little helpful to you. But before anything, that's what I usually do. That's the biggest tip, is to document, photo, note as you go, so that when you get started, you know exactly what you're working with, and it's also a great comparison when you end up and you finish. So that's part one, guys. Part two is we'll unwrap this after I have a talk to the fellow whose handle this is. And I might actually unwrap that before I talk to him, because I just want to see how far that goes. And we'll take it from there. The joys of Tsukamaki. Stick around. Thanks. See you later.